This was a fun little video that I decided to kind of take a look at because I found it in my collection and realized I hadn't really talked about it all that much. This is a Spyderco Harpy. They've made them for a very, very long time. I think they're still in production, but I think probably more people are kind of jumping over to the Atlantic Salt series because it's just a little bit more affordable and lighter weight. But yeah, this one's pretty darn old. And there's a few things that kind of tell me that. First is this actually has a clip that still has their patent on there from when, clips were super new on knives, and Spyderco was certainly kind of the first production company kind of doing that. And yeah, the other thing about it is, yeah, it says Spyderco, and it says Seki Japan, but it doesn't specify what steel this was. And that actually does make it a little bit more difficult for kind of finding out around when this was made, because they have used several different steels for these guys. This could possibly be GIN-1, it could be ATS-55, or it could be VG-10. I don't know, it just really depends on when this was kind of around. And you can see this is absolutely had problems. This was a knife that I actually got given to me from somebody. I guess this was their father's who had passed away, and they had really no idea what exactly this was, or if it was worth anything or whatnot when they handed it over to me. And yeah, I got super excited. I haven't tried to sharpen it yet, and you can see, yeah, it's got some rolled edges kind of going on there, and they've certainly snapped the tip off and sharpened out some of the serrations already. So yeah, it's a little beat up. And this thing was super stiff as well. I have kind of worked quite a bit of that away. Let's see if I can't blaze this with some light. Yeah. You see, it's kind of a little dirty in there, but I did work quite a bit to restore the nice pivot action and everything that's going on in here. These things were pretty interesting because they have that slit on both sides that's designed for water to kind of escape the knife. These hawkbill with the serrations things, they were really designed for nautical uses. Something like you have some rope at length or whatever, then kind of putting the knife on there, it's hooking into it and cutting that so that it won't actually let go. So, I mean, that was their initial intent with this thing, which, I mean, it's certainly makes the most amount of sense. Just, yeah, it's easier to hold on to something at arm's length when you can't reach it with your other hand if you're trying to cut some rope or other things like that. But, yeah, it is interesting to see a Spyderco clip that still has their patent information on there. They obviously don't put them on there pretty much anymore. At least, let me make sure of that. Yes, okay, yeah, much more newer ones just have their Spyderco design. Just wanted to make sure I'm not an ass. But, yeah, this was just kind of a fun knife. Obviously, you can't disassemble this one. This is one of their pinned shut models. They've also done these in Delica, Endura, and Police models around the same time. And yeah, all of those are heavy, and this one is too. But yeah, because it seems like a fun thing to do, I can go ahead and get some measurements on here. Now the handle, very nice and thin. Basically 0.3 of an inch. So super nice and thin. And that certainly has to do with the pen construction, kind of keeping it that way. And probably also the blade stock thickness being a little bit thinner than some more modern knives. Let's see. This isn't a crazy long knife. It says 2.7, but I know the tip is cut off there, so I'll add a little bit. So yeah, it was probably like 2.8 inches. So it's less than a 3-inch blade, so that was definitely popular for some people to carry around with them as a EDC sort of thing. All right, blade stock thickness. Okay. And we're looking at basically 3 millimeters, which, hey, that's nice. Keeps that down for the nice slicing and very, very thin profile and everything like that. You can see the inner workings of basically that back spring and everything because of the cutout there. And you can also see a lot of the schmutz and whatnot. I guess the guy was a woodworker, so I don't know if you got, wood glue and maybe some resins from some softer woods like pine or something like that in there. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, quite a bit of solvent and kind of working it around and, proper lubrication and everything certainly helped it out quite a bit. You can see that the serrations here actually do reach up above that so you can see them, but it's obviously not something that you can get down into to accidentally cut. But if something were to slide in there, which pretty difficult with how crazy the tolerances are on this guy, then yeah, it would probably get cut. But yeah, so this is a stainless steel knife. Much before the advent of using titanium and everything for these sorts of guys. So yeah, 3.73 ounces, 105.5 grams or so for a 2.8 inch little hawkbill knife. But yeah, I do still like this. I do remember selling quite a few Harpies back in the day when I was doing retail. They were a little bit more hard of a sell because they were much more expensive than the lightweight Delicas and Enduras that were sitting right alongside of them and whatnot. But yeah, for the people who really did want them, who were nautically inclined and whatnot, they really knew what they wanted, and yeah, they did pick them up. This knife is also kind of a little infamous for having a scene in Silence of the Lambs and whatnot. Yeah, it's just kind of a thing about its history. It was the knife that somebody, probably one of the gaffers, had when they were on set, and they're like, "Oh, we could use this," or something like that. I don't know, but yeah, that is just some interesting aside from that. But yeah, we got Phillips screwdriver things for the pocket clips there. Obviously, that's changed over the years. But yeah, not a whole lot else to say about this other than, what I said earlier. I don't know necessarily what era this is from. Like I said, it could be using a GIN-1 steel, it could be using ATS-55, or it could be using VG-10. And, unless I actually sent it in for someone to try to test it, then, and somebody who also knew a lot more of those Japanese steels and how to identify the difference between all of that sort of stuff, then, it'd be pretty difficult. But, yeah, it is what it is. Certainly well used, but still glad to have it. It's certainly a neat piece to have in my collection, even though I could probably clean this up just a little bit better. Oh, well, yeah. Yep, that was a super quick thing. I just saw that sitting out in amongst my other knives and went, oh yeah, I haven't talked about this darn thing. So I figured I should pull it out and do such a thing. So, all right. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching. Have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo.